It's a new day. It is a new group. We just got done with a banger of a survival match from Group 2, and this is now Group 3 of the Manifold TCG Promotional League in the round of 16. Placement match A. I am Brad. With me here as always is Adam. Adam, who are we watching?
Hey everyone, get settled in for what's going to be an excellent game. This is Jordan and Kayden. Starting off, we've got Jordan's Lucca Barica deck. Lucca Barica is an attachment deck that was actually originally pioneered by Brad here.
Hell yeah.
Where you stack a bunch of stuff on Lucca, and then Barica either keeps him alive or is a lightning rod, because if Barica can't heal herself, so if you start by defeating Barica, then she doesn't get to heal anyone.
One of the really nice things about this deck is you come out aggressively. You've got Earthbinders, you've got Templar Armaments, you've got Rumble of the Grottos. You start by ignoring what your opponent is doing and growing tall, and then you spend rounds 2 and 3 attacking all your opponent's objects when it's hard sometimes for them to attack your objects or you've already gotten yield from them. This deck is really good at pivoting from being the aggressor to being the control deck, and it doesn't play quite the way that flagship decks often do, because the flagship is less powerful, but the flagship is much sturdier.
Yeah, you might have seen a E-Emergent Rilo type of deck where their goal is to kill you dead as quick as possible. This is not that, but it's still a bunch of attachments. It still kind of looks like it if you squint, which is really cool. On the other side, we have a very different deck than an attachment deck. Kayden is playing a Starlet Djoln, like, event tribal control deck. He's going to be using his heroes to draw a bunch of cards, and Djoln in particular to fill up his discard, so that in the late game, Witchfire, Haunting Winds, and Ignis Fatuous triggers can end the game.
And this is a blue-green deck, and it's against another blue-green deck, and they're both playing 2 21s into 3, and you might think they're pretty similar, but holy cow, are they actually not very similar. And I was not a believer in Kayden's deck list, but he looked very strong in the round of 32, and it seems like he steals the games because he just happens to have enough burn at the end of the game. But watch the way he plays. It's an inevitability. He spends all game building his hand so that he has exactly what he needs for the flurry of events to steal the game at the end.
Yeah, just imagine Witchfire, Ignis Fatuous trigger, Haunting Winds. Like, that's a lot of damage when you need it, and Djoln can pick up those events that you use earlier and discard earlier in the game in order to actually end that game.
All right, we're down to the table. Our players just rolled to see who's going to go first. And before they take their first action, if you like this content, please like this content. Share it on social media, maybe. Help people find this game.
Yeah, we want Manifold to be seen by as many people as possible, and liking and subscribing to our channel and leaving a comment is the way that you can help this game get out to as many people as possible.
Looks like Kayden won the die roll. Kayden is starting with a Loam Defiler, so he's going to look at the top 3 cards of his deck. He's going to put one of them in his hand. He's going to discard the other 2. So right off the bat, he's selecting what he wants for that late game flurry, and he is filling his discard full of events. I guess not full of events.
That's fine. Rumble of the Grotto and Pulpit Orator here are going to be discarded. Jordan on the other side looks like, yep, he's going to start with a Blessing of the Cloth, rolling an extra red dice here on Lucca. This is like one of the cookie cutter starts for this deck, right, Brad?
Yeah, absolutely. You get to play Blessing, you don't get to play Chain Plasma Rifle, but you roll a bunch of purple dice, so just the volume of premium dice matters so much because you're going to get to modify so much of it. Yeah. And this deck very oftenly goes 4-1 or 3-2 in round 1, before ideally playing a flurry of events in round 2 to answer whatever your opponent did with their opening gems.
Cool. Yeah, and like a lot of other attachment decks that you might see, like a Lucca Rilo type thing, here's a Bark Skin, so just another premium dice, rolling an extra red off Lucca. This deck makes a lot of premium dice, red, purple, green, blue, but it doesn't make many black or white dice, meaning all of its damages come in 2s.
Yeah, it's surprisingly fragile to shields, but when I say fragile, I mean that Shields are effective against it and block a lot of its damage, but it's pretty good in matchups where your opponent is shielding.
Sure, yeah, you think?
I'm a huge... I think that this deck is excellent. I think this deck is good in a very wide range of matchups.
Sure.
So maybe I'm overstating it.
Sure.
But like, Jordan played a Blessing of the Cloth and a Bark Skin. He's going to roll 10 premium dice this round.
Sure. That's a good point. If his opponent is trying to prolong the game instead of trying to kill Lucca as quick as possible, they might get themselves into another round in which Lucca gets to activate again and keep rolling those dice.
So one of the things that's really interesting about Kayden's burn that he's going to use usually to end the game is in this matchup, he might be inclined to do something like that late in round 2 or at the beginning of round 3, because throwing away a bunch of his potential in order to take Lucca off the table is such an incredibly important breakpoint.
Right. Kayden there is going to activate Starlet and draw 2 using that 2 shield dice, using Starlet's ability. And Jordan is going to activate Barica, and he didn't have any reason to wait to heal Lucca. What do you think of that activating Barica early thing?
Yeah, my experience is you almost never heal in round 1. Your opponent is going to resolve their damage after you make all your dice, and you don't want to try and fight over that, or you're going to end up giving up the dig in, which is often going to be more important than the heal.
Yeah. And if your opponent goes after Lucca, there's a real question of who do you go after first, Barica or Lucca? And if they're going after Lucca, I think you're generally happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. The prevailing opinion is kill Barica first. And part of the reason why that's the prevailing opinion is everyone who asks me says it, and I'm the guy in the room where this content is is produced.
Sure. And I have failed to kill Lucca and left Barica alive for 5 rounds before, enough that I'm going to keep on going after Lucca first.
So Jordan modified 2, and he modified out of a purple modified 2?
Yeah, but he got...
out of a purple 2 mental damage.
He turned a 2 purple mental damage into a purple modify 2, which he will then probably be using to modify another 2.
Right, which is going to make 2 more damage than if he had resolved it at the cost of 2 shields.
Yes. I do think that turning a 2 damage into a modify 2 into another 2 damage ends up just netting you exactly as much damage, but 1 more dice spent.
No. Because he's going to end up resolving these dice as 4 damage instead of the other dice as 2. So he did go up 2 damage.
No, you're right. I see.
But at the cost of this red and blue shield.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So Jordan has 10 damage in round 1, and Kayden has dealt 2 damage to each of Lucca and Barica.
Now, something that Kayden did is he looked 7 cards deep into his deck.
Right. To find perfect answers like this Sever the Ties here. I mean, it's not perfect ideal here, but it's still 2 gems for 3.
Yeah, and that means that both players are going to end the round having added 1 premium dice to their board, which small games like that is typically good for Kayden because Kayden scales with gems more than anything else.
Yeah.
However, there's a bunch of details that make that trade look quite a bit worse, like Lucca gave 2 extra premium dice on the way,
right.
Which is going to result in, I guess Jordan only dealt 6.
Yep, it's 6 damage to 4.
Okay, that's a close and fair.
Yeah. Pretty close to a reasonably balanced. Now Barica is going to be able to heal that 2 damage off of Lucca.
Yes.
And maybe that means this 4 damage isn't actually worth 4 damage. You know, there's some conversation to be had there, maybe. But I still don't think anyone definitively won round 1.
Yeah, just seeing how efficient Jordan's gems were and how many dice he made, I assumed that there was going to be a lot more impact in the final calculation.
So Kayden's going to start round 2 by activating Djoln, which is a very common way to start when you have Djoln. He will draw 2 and discard 2, meaning you get to see what your options are before committing to something else. And on the other side, Jordan will play an Earthbinder.
We keep singing praises to Earthbinder. This is honestly one of the most powerful attachments in the game. It just doesn't see that much play because there aren't a lot of green attachment decks.
Yeah. There aren't that many green attachment heroes. Not really. And red and blue and yellow kind of have a bunch of synergies. Earthbinder here is going to exhaust Loam Defiler, which is, not as big of a thing as it could be. But Kayden's going to respond by playing a Horizon Walker with a red counter on it. This is one of the strengths of Kayden's deck.
Yeah, Horizon Walker has 2 durability, so it doesn't pay anything for the fact that it comes in rolling a red and a black, what we would sometimes call 1.5 dice, because 1 dice is the going rate, but if you meet its condition, it's just 50% better.
Yep. And a second Horizon Walker will mean Kayden spent 4 gems on red, red, black, black, which is very solid.
Very solid.
Yeah. Jordan will, in the middle there, played a Protective Rune Marks on Lucca, which doesn't add that many dice to the table. It still gives Lucca's trigger, rolling an extra red dice. But, it's fine as an attachment there in the middle of other attachments.
Yeah, that boon dice is showing 1 damage, which means it's going to pierce a shield, which means it's doing full freight for Jordan.
It did just fine this round.
But one of the things you got to see is just how much protection this Lucca has. This Lucca is shielded. Barica can heal it. At any point, it can sacrifice Barkskin to become shielded, and anytime he plays an attachment on it, it'll become shielded. Now, the next time he plays an attachment on it, he'll have to sacrifice an attachment, but he's likely to sacrifice that protection, I believe. All that to say, there's like 3 shields already on Lucca in addition to Barica's heal.
Yeah, and this is one of the big differences in gameplay between this deck and a lot of the other red-yellow, red-blue attachment decks. It just is very durable.
So once again, we see Jordan making a very prolific dice pool. Last round, he only found 6 damage out of it.
Mm-hmm.
This round, my intuition is that he's going to find 8, but if he can figure out how to make that 10, that'll be much better.
Yes. Rolling a 4 modify here on 2 purple dice is going to go a long way. He'll just be able to modify 4 just into damage. And then Barica has the energy ability of modify 1. So that 1 energy will be able to turn the other energy into a 2 damage side. Pretty solid if all you're looking for is damage.
Yep, he needs 10 damage to defeat Starlet, and Starlet represents 3 dice. But Starlet rolls 2 blue dice herself, so let's see if she can protect herself.
Yep. So Kayden rolls a Sabotage, 2 shield, and 1 shield. So yes is the answer.
Yeah, that's a lot of protection.
Yeah. So Starlet's not going away this round. Probably.
It looks like Kayden opted not to resolve anything as draw, which makes plenty of sense. Kayden, my guess is that Kayden has 8 cards in his hand.
Sure.
It looks like it's only 6.
That's fine. Kayden will take 7 damage. Jordan wanted to resolve as much right now as possible. And Kayden will start shielding Starlet against all of this incoming damage.
Which interestingly means Jordan resolved the 1 physical damage, not into a shield.
Yep. If Jordan had resolved 6 damage instead of 7, then he would have been a little more efficient. Now, I do think that Kayden has enough defenses that it wouldn't have ended up mattering. But, making Kayden spend the blue Sabotage 1 on a dice instead of, re-rolling it or something could be any amount of value.
But on the other hand, another reason that Jordan could derive value from that is he's put Starlet down to 3, which means the top of next round could be a Witchfire into a Crackle.
Yeah. Jordan plays Crackle, which you'll see this deck finish off players with Witchfire Crackle all the time. Jordan has his energy here after Kayden takes a tactical reroll, and Jordan will modify into Shield 2. Interesting.
It probably doesn't matter what he modifies into because it's his last dice standing and Kayden had a Sabotage showing.
Yeah, that's very fair. So now probably Jordan's going to dig in on Barica, which means we get to look at Kayden and see what Kayden can do with these last 2 gems and the rest of these dice.
So this would be a really nice round for Kayden to slip an Ignis Fatuous into play.
Mm-hmm.
Another Horizon Walker, of course, would be nice. We can stop speculating.
Looks like Ignis Fatuous is going to be the pick, and Kayden will get to pick up an event in his discard.
And we've seen this time and time again. I never play this card because this moment, when I spend 2 gems and put it into play, feels so bad.
Yeah, you're doing nothing.
Exactly. But the rest of this game, we're going to see this card be so good.
Exactly. So picking up Sever the Ties here is going to be really good against that Earthbinder that was earlier played. And so Kayden has Djoln's energy ability and these Ignis Fatuouses to pick up the perfect answer to Jordan's events.
Ooh, and Kayden is not greedy regarding these dice at all. He had, I think it was still 6 cards in his hand.
Sure, 1 or 2 tactical rerolls could have gotten him something, but...
I guess his heroes were both already shielded, so pretty good chance. All he would have done is take off a shield, maybe draw a card, but discarding a card to draw a card isn't strictly upside.
Right. So this is fine. Probably. So, going into round 3, Kayden has started growing his infrastructure with that Ignifuchus. I think he wants to spend as much time as possible filling up his discard and playing as many Ignifuchuses as possible so that he can end the game with burn. Which means the longer he's able to just kind of tread water, the better.
Yeah, but I wouldn't describe what happens last round as treading water.
Well, yeah, he wants to do better this round at treading water.
This round he wants to successfully tread water.
Yes.
Exactly. And he's got changed the tides in diplomatic meetings to interfere with Jordan's ability to deal that last 3 damage.
Right. Okay, so Jordan is going to start this round with an Earthbinder. Another Earthbinder, this time on Barica. And it's going to exhaust the Horizon Walker, which is absolutely solid.
Yeah, it's going to count for 3.5 dice this round.
But we know that Kayden just picked up a Sever the Ties. Jordan knows that as well. So where is this Sever the Ties going to go? What do you think you should destroy here if you're Kayden? Which Earthbinder?
My impulse is that you want to beat the Earthbinder on the Barica because Lucca gives you a reward every time you put an attachment on him, and right now there isn't a free attachment slot.
Sure.
So from Kayden's seat, you kind of want to keep the Lucca clogged.
Okay, I buy that. Kayden will make the other decision, though, and take off Lucca's Earthbinder. And Jordan's just going to activate the Lucca. Jordan doesn't have another attachment for Lucca right now, which makes this perfectly reasonable.
And a good reason to make Kayden's play is if you're trying to inhibit Jordan's tempo. If you want to make sure Jordan has to spend two turns activating his objects in order to create the dice that are going to kill you, and you want the time to roll your blue dice and play your Change the Tides.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a Change the Tide right there. So now, Kayden probably wants to make dice so that he can then change the tide and have it have dice to modify. Enough good dice to modify.
Whew, boy.
All right, Djoln's activation here. We'll draw Kayden 2 cards and discard 2, but we'll also roll a shield and a sabotage. That's the treading water I was talking about.
Yeah, and Jordan's roll only found 1 damage.
Yeah, not very spicy.
And we know there's a Change to the Tide in Kayden's hand, and we know that Starlet rolls blue, blue, red. Like, right now, I think Starlet survives the round.
Jordan does look like he has a Crackle in hand.
Okay.
I would be worried about a Crackle in Jordan's hand if I were Kayden. So he's going to shield immediately here back on Starlet, and Jordan will go back to rolling dice. Which means Kayden will have a chance to activate Starlet before she goes down.
So last round, Jordan healed Lucca, and then Lucca took 2 damage again. Which means Kayden's pretty committed to trying to take down the Lucca first.
Yep.
But in the control deck, that's a pretty tall hill.
Yeah, if you're doing like 6 damage a round, then 2 of it getting healed every single round is rough. Let's see. Kayden is going to play Change the Tide here after Barica's activation, sabotaging 2, and turning this blue sabotage into 2 damage. Cool.
Yeah, very neat. It means he doesn't presently have a tool for if Jordan uses this energy to modify into a damage, or if he tactical rerolls into a damage.
Yep. Jordan did roll 4 modify, so hitting those 4 modify right then was probably more valuable than getting other dice in.
Yeah. Kayden was probably bullied into playing that Change the Tide now.
Yeah.
It's the modifying out of sabotage that I'm so curious about.
Yeah. Jordan will be able to modify into modify 2, which means he'll be able to get some damage here, but it doesn't look like Jordan's going to make that much damage this round. He might barely kill Starlet, if at all.
Yeah, but that's the question, right? That's such a huge difference. Can he find 3 damage or not? And he's showcasing this Crackle. So really the question is, can he find an opportunity to play this Crackle?
Yeah.
And if he does, that's something like 30% of Kayden's dice. Now, Ignifuchus is some output that's not dice, right? So maybe it's 20% of Kayden's output.
That's true.
But that's a big, meaningful chunk.
And Kayden, after getting out of that sabotage, isn't showing any defenses here, and will roll Horizon Walker into 2 blanks. So Jordan will take off Starlet's shield, and Kayden will respond by dealing 3 damage to Lucca.
Oh, interesting that Jordan didn't heal with Barica this round.
Yeah. Okay, there's that Crackle.
And so now Kayden lost one of his heroes. It doesn't look like he's going to trade that hero back. But he's got to get into a position where He has to get into a position where next round he can kill Lucca. If Jordan
Yeah.
gets 2 more activations of Lucca, then I don't think that Kayden's defenses are going to be able to withstand that.
Yeah, I somewhat agree. It looks like Jordan has just the remainder of his dice here, and he's happy. He defeated Starlet, so he's just going to resolve these whatever they show instead of like trying to tactical reroll into something cool.
Kayden has a Search the Wastes in his hand, which looks like what this green is likely to do.
I agree.
Which means, more card selection. We talked about he spends all game sculpting his hand so that he can do this flurry of direct damage.
Mm-hmm.
He will get the opportunity to do that next round if that's what he chooses to do.
Right. Kayden modified into damage, so Jordan resolved shield 1, and Kayden here will play that Search the Waste that you were talking about. Each player discards the top 3 cards of their deck, and then Kayden gets to pick up any card in his discard and put into his hand.
And what you really want to find here are the second copies of the cards that you plan on playing so that your Ignis Virtuous can trigger.
Yep.
We know he has a Change the Tide in his hand. Might be a reason to keep that Change the Tide in the discard. Yeah, and he really wants Witchfire, but that just isn't there.
No, it's not. So he's going to pick up Change the Tide here, because next round he's going to have to try to use it for,
Survival. And it's kind of... It's not direct damage, right? It turns your dice into damage, but it reliably and consistently turns your dice into damage.
It does. So, going here into round 4, Jordan was just barely able to kill Starlet, but that breakpoint matters a lot. Lucca and Barica have each taken a couple damage here, 7 damage total. Barica might be able to heal 2 of that this round, so let's average it to 6-ish. That's 6 damage compared to 16.
Yeah, which is, a terrible trade. But Jordan is tall on Lucca. If Kayden can leverage these 8 gems such that Lucca dies this round and Jordan doesn't contribute a Rumble of the Grotto or another big attachment to Barica,
sure,
Kayden can get himself into a position where he stops taking damage.
I agree. And that's how control decks work, right? That's the whole thing.
Yep. So if we end this round with Lucca dead and Djoln at 4 life, that's
enough.
A game Kayden can win.
Yep. So Kayden's going to start here, just like last round, with Sever the Ties taking out an Earthbinder. And this time, Ignis Virtuous is going to deal a damage to Lucca, taking off his shield.
And that's
starting.
Well, it's another efficient quality play.
Yep.
But it's not helping you kill this 11 health Lucca.
Yeah, I mean, it took off his shield.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
It is helping. It is helping.
Yeah. I think you would generally be happy to play Sever the Ties against an Earthbinder when and where you can in almost every scenario.
Yeah, you're right. And one of the conditions that I had for Kayden winning was that Jordan didn't contribute another big thing to Barica.
Mm-hmm.
And by killing one of the big things, it means Jordan can actually contribute another thing to his board and Kayden can still be in a fine spot.
Right. So Engulfing Stone will be the play from Jordan, which makes me feel like he doesn't have another attachment for Lucca. It'll put a blue counter and a shield on Lucca, which is fine, but not an attachment.
Yeah, and I forgot that there's just so many defenses for this Lucca. That was a shield. Yeah. The Barkskin is a shield. Although the Barkskin is only a shield this round if Jordan waits to lose his shield before activating Lucca.
Yeah, what that Barkskin is really good at is starting the round with Lucca at 1, activate, get a shield, right? If Jordan digs in. It's not a shield now, it might be a shield later.
Yeah, I hear you, but I've already written off how this game ends if Lucca activates again.
Yeah,
so.
Okay, sure.
Which I've been wrong about before, just to be clear.
Yes. Kayden is going to start by activating, is going to activate Horizon Walker here, rolling 2 damage. Pretty good. And Lucca will roll a pile of nothing. Not much, at least. Yeah,
and there's modified 4 there if you squint, but that's real slow, not terribly efficient. And the only big play I see in Jordan's hand is a Starfallen Warrior.
That's not exactly the play that he wants right now. And Kayden's just going to keep rolling damage.
I think there's a world in which if Kayden hadn't activated the Horizon Walker, Jordan was going to play his Starfallen Warrior and then sacrifice his Barkskin.
Sure.
But Kayden behaved in a way that took that line away from Jordan partway through the round.
Yeah. In general, if you can activate your unshielded little guys early in the round, it's probably a good idea. Barica's activation here will spend that white dice in order to heal 2 on Lucca, and we're back to 5 damage dealt total to Jordan. It's Lucca.
Yeah, so Lucca has 13 health. Almost
Sorry, 5 damage among all of his heroes. 3 damage dealt to Lucca.
right. Lucca has 13 health. I almost said Jordan has 13 health, or maybe I did say that. Kayden still has 6 gems up, and he still has this Ignis Fatuous, and he's showing 4 damage.
Yeah.
Man, you gotta find 9 damage from somewhere. Witchfire, Ignis Fatuous, Haunting Winds, Ignis Fatuous, plus this Horizon Walker could get there, but like...
I'm gonna choose to hope that he does get this Lucca down this round. Jordan's going to use Barica's energy to modify into modify 2, which means he'll be able to just modify 3 into a total of 8 damage, which isn't ideal. It's not great, but it's certainly enough for right now.
Yeah, and I think Kayden's happy with that. Now, Kayden's a little worried that Jordan still has 5 gems up because we don't know, how many more dice and how much more infrastructure Jordan can make.
Right.
But Kayden can just... Oh, I guess he has this change the tide.
Yeah,
so he doesn't even
change the
need to
tide is
take
good
the 8
here.
damage on the chin.
So-
but he could take the 8 damage on the chin, and if he found lethal on Lucca, would still be in a fine spot.
Yep. So Kayden's going to sabotage 4 damage. Great. And modify 2. He's going to upgrade both of his 1 damage red dice instead of turning that red modify 1 into a 2 damage, which means he could have had 1 more damage. He went 1 to 2 instead of 0 to 2. And I hope that's not the difference here. Having a modify is good. And we'll see. So Starfallen Warrior will be Jordan's play.
Ooh.
Talk us through how that is going.
Neat. Okay, so the Starfallen Warrior was exhausted to do 2 damage to each character. So he opted not to roll the red and get the immediate damage now. It did 2 damage to Lucca, it killed a Horizon Walker, it took a shield off Horizon Walker, it took a shield off of Djoln. Jordan gestured to the Ignis Fatuous, and then Kayden was like, actually, that's a structure. So there's a chance
Sure.
that Jordan didn't get exactly the trade that he was hoping to get out of this. But that just dramatically increased the probability that this Lucca dies.
Yeah.
Kayden still needs something out of these gems.
Oh, man. And then Kayden rolling 2 damage on that purple dice is actually very important. That modify 1 could have been 2 damage. And instead, he kept it as a modify 1.
And it would have been 1 more damage, right?
Yes.
Because something else would have been 1 less
Grand
damage.
total of 1 more damage.
But Kayden's out here with a Witchfire in his hand and 2 other gems, desperately trying to find 2 damage. So
Yeah.
that if that had been 1 more damage, that would get real close.
It really would.
On the other hand, red dice reroll very well.
Okay, sure. That's a good point. Because I think you're right. Lucca has 4 health. Kayden needs to deal 4 damage. He needs to figure out how, and he can't not do that.
And Starlet's dead, so his card draw engine is gone, but honestly, I would absolutely discard my whole hand for this.
So Witchfire here into... Okay, Witchfire here is going to take off Lucca's shield. I believe Jordan dug in.
Yeah.
And then Search the Waste is going to get an Ignis Fatuous trigger. So that's 1 more damage, and the purple dice is 2, meaning Lucca will go to 1.
Okay, but 1 is 50% to be found on this red dice.
Yes.
Kayden
Yes,
could
it
take
is.
3 shots at it, but that isn't how Kayden has played these games before.
Yeah. All right, Lucca's at 1.
Do you
There's a
remember
red
those
dice
3 dice he left at the beginning of round 1? The
Any
blue,
of those
white,
could have
white.
been 1
and I'm like,
damage.
oh, this probably only gets you 1 damage. Oh,
no,
man.
Kayden's going to choose not to re-roll this red dice. And Jordan dug in, so Jordan's going first.
So Jordan's going to activate Lucca, roll 6 dice, sacrifice Barkskin to shield, and then activate Barica to heal.
Yep. That is a huge difference here. I don't know how many cards are in Kayden's hand. It looks like
I think
6.
there were 3. I think there's 5 now.
Okay, 3 to 5. Yeah. I would have discarded all 3 of those cards looking for 1 damage, personally.
Yeah, because all of this, we're about to see how much punishment you didn't have to take.
Okay.
And that's dice face 8?
Grand total of, yes. That's 4 damage now, shield. Yeah. The shield here is going to come from the Barkskin sacrifice. And even if Kayden has, like, Witchfire, Ignis Fatuous, kill your Lucca right here with this action, that's still dice face 8 that he,
Yeah,
lost out on.
and that's, there you are. This is a game of inches. That dice face 1 that Kayden didn't find earlier means he's got another dice face 8 of potential bearing down on him.
Right. Okay, so Kayden now needs to find a way to kill Lucca.
Yes. Now he's very likely to find a way to kill Lucca.
Right.
The problem is he's going to get punched in the face again.
Yes. Yes, he is.
And Djoln still has 12 life, and Jordan's only showing 4 damage. Kayden can take a punch in the face. This game is not over. I know I wrote it off before. I said these conditions result in Kayden's defeat. And honestly, it's not looking good for Kayden. I'd put him at 15%.
Yeah.
15% is not the kind of position you concede from. He can win this game.
Yes. He just needs to... He now needs his cards to be good.
Yeah, all the time. And you need Jordan to stumble.
Yes. And that is not unreasonable to hope for.
Yeah,
Jordan stumbling.
Jordan hasn't been drawing cards. He's been modifying into damage. We've actually been modifying into modify every step of the way.
Yes. But that modify then modifies into damage. Change of Tide here is going to sabotage 4 damage and turn Kayden's dice to the side showing 4 damage. And then Ignis Fatuus is going to trigger and take off Lucca's shield. So there's a pretty good shot that Jordan's just okay with this and doesn't want to fight. I guess he could just resolve shield 2 here and keep Lucca going.
Yeah, or you could resolve a sabotage.
Sure. So shield 2 here is going to keep Lucca going, shielding both of Jordan's heroes.
And Kayden does have a Crackle and a Haunting Winds in his hand. And I think there's a Crackle in his discard.
Okay, Witchfire here is going to work out pretty nicely. It's going to shoot Barica for 1, taking off Barica's shield, and he doesn't have another Witchfire. By work out pretty nicely, he would only make that play if here's another Witchfire. This time, it's going to take off Lucca's shield. Ignis Fatuus will trigger because of the first Witchfire, and then 2 damage will take out Lucca. Okay, we got there.
Yes. Nicely done. Not... he had to... The reason he went into Barica was so he didn't end up wasting Dice Face, resolving a 2 into a 1 health character.
Which was good.
Yes, which was efficient.
Yeah. So now he needs to do 14 damage eventually, but Jordan's board state is nothing.
Yeah, the concern is Jordan going to play 2 of Rumble of the Grotto, Templar Armaments, Ritual Circle.
Sure.
Activating the Starfallen Warrior means the chances that he plays an attachment have gone down tremendously.
Yes. And Barica's energy ability is much better at this stage in the game than Lucca's would be.
Lucca has the worst energy ability in Tyrant Sentinels.
Yes, yes, he does.
Shout out to Aileen.
Shout out. Go watch that video. It's real good. But Barica is going to let Jordan modify into damage where Lucca wouldn't have been able to. That's actually an interesting thing, just as a sidebar. Figuring out which hero you should target first, you might also think, on the last round of the game, which energy ability do I want them to have? There's a thought there. Anyway, Strike Down is going to be Jordan's play, which will take out the Horizon Walker here, letting him modify 2. Yeah, there's a lot of modifying Jordan's deck.
There's so much modifying in that deck, which is why you're relatively fragile to shields. But you go tall, you make powerful plays, and you're good against decks that shield. So
certainly. So yeah, Jordan will just make more damage. Kayden will roll a blank. Kayden's got these 4 gems, but
the 4 gems are going to be a Haunting Winds, but it's not going to feel that good.
No,
you really want to be playing Rumble or something that's going to, get activated twice. Even if it's only twice at this stage in the game, it's so much better than once.
Yeah. Haunting Winds here will get an Ignis Fatuus trigger, so 5 damage to Barica, putting her to 7 health. And so we're going to go into the last round of the game here, assuming nothing else happens. We're going to go into the last round with both players at
within striking distance.
Within striking distance.
Kayden's winning the dig in. Well, okay. We didn't consider that Jordan has 5 gems. If Jordan makes another dice and a half, he can win this game right now.
Okay. Jordan's going to take off that shield. And then which fire crackle is enough?
Oh, man.
Okay, never mind.
Kayden got himself into a position where you would get to activate Djoln, draw 2, discard 2, and if you find Witchfire Haunting Winds, it's lethal.
Yeah.
I said I wrote this game off, and, I correctly guessed who was going to win based on the board state. But, that was a close game.
That was a winnable game. Yeah. Awesome.
Woo!
That was a cool one. So... Jordan is going to go on to the winner's match. Kayden is going to go on to the rebound match, and we will see you in those videos. Next up, placement match B.
Heck yeah, let's go group 3.
See you there. Thanks for watching.